Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a preview look at a prototype copy of the upcoming final expansion for Obsession, the Characters expansion, from designer Dan Hallagan and publisher Kayenta Games. Dan actually reached out to me because he really enjoyed the way I discussed the mechanisms and the sort of thoughts and feelings in the original base game, and he wanted me to take a look at the solo content, or the way that the new expansion content changes up the solo. So disclaimer, of course, being a prototype copy, I was given early access to this prototype by the designer. But if there's any bias at all in this video, it's because of my love for the base game. The base game I did not get a review copy for. I picked it up in a trade and I fell really in love with the game, which is what pushed me to make the original version in the first place. So you should go into this understanding that I do really enjoy the base game. So if there is any bias, it comes from that. And otherwise, I will do my best to explain exactly how I feel about this upcoming new expansion. With all that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode plays with all of the new content added into it, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. Alright, so for this playthrough, I will be playing a game using the sort of base core game without the upstairs downstairs expansion, introducing all of these sort of soloable components from the new Characters expansion. So on the screen right now, you see the game all set up for the base game of Obsession. I'm not going to be explaining the base game or the setup for the base game because I've already done a video on the base game, and if you want to see that, please click the icon at the top of the screen now. Otherwise, this is the normal setup for a solo game of Obsession using only the sort of base core components, except that I've already gone ahead in the two different guests decks. I've mixed in these sort of extra guests from the new Characters expansion, and I'll explain those as they come out in the game. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead right now and sort of make all of the adjustments to the setup that I need to do for the new Characters expansion. And the first thing I'm going to do without using any of the characters stuff from the new expansion is that this objective deck gets completely replaced with a new objective deck from the Characters expansion. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that in. And you'll notice that I didn't choose any objectives for the game because I wanted to swap that out first. Also, it's worth mentioning that the expansion will come with the objective cards for the upstairs downstairs expansion. I believe there are 12 of them. There's one here for the Wessex expansion. And then also for the solo play, I've removed these new objectives. All of these objectives are scoring for a majority in a certain color, and because I am the only player that is actually counting the colors, those can't be used in the solo game. Otherwise, all of the cards are still in the objective deck. Next, I'm going to slide all of this off to the side because there is a board extension for the new expansion that goes right there on the side. And once I've done that, I will be right back to continue explaining the setup and how the game plays. Alright, so here is the new expansion board. Now, I did mention this up top at the start of the video, but I will mention it here, and I will probably point it out again a few times throughout the video. All of the components you see for this new expansion are prototype components. So you'll see right now this board doesn't exactly match in size, and it's slightly different, glossier sheen than the rest of the board, but all of that obviously will be fixed in the actual production of the game, and this is just a prototype, so a lot of the components you see here will not be final component quality in the actual version of the expansion. Next, to continue setting up this sideboard, I'm going to put out the characters that make this the Characters expansion. Starting up top with the Reverend Grantley, gets placed up there. Next, moving down the screen, placing out the Eccentric Dowager's Carriage right here. And then finally down here at the bottom, placing out Constable Bucket like that. Then moving down the board, filling in sort of the relevant areas for each of those three characters. Up here at Reverend Grantley, I'm going to place some objective cards. So first I'm going to deal out my own 5 objectives, and I'll place those right here. 4 and 5 like that. And then inside Reverend Grantley's area, we're going to place out another 4 objectives like that. And I'll explain what that is and what that means after I am done setup. Next, moving down to the Eccentric Dowager's location, Over there, spending time with our eccentric dowager is our group of exiles. The exiles, there are 4 of them: Lady Sophie Meyer, Count Vladimir Antonov, Lady Agatha Sunsdaughter, and the Mayor Friedrich Stoll. And those 4 cards will get placed down here. Next up here in Higby's Second Chance Domestics, we're going to be placing out some new servants. These are second chance servants. They're a slightly disheveled version of the servants from the base game. And for the solo mode, we'll place out 1 of each of these up here in this top box. Now, while I'm placing this out, you will see I do have stickers on my meeples from the original game. Those didn't come with the original game. Likewise, these boxes are from the Shipshape Gamer insert, so those are not components either from the base game or from the expansion. I just wanted to point that out to make things clear. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to do to set up the new expansion, and this is optional, but with the new expansion, there is a new version of the Charles Fairchild card. Originally, you would spend 1 valet to get 3 reputation, but the new version adds, in addition to 3 reputation, also 300 pounds. And this is because some people were complaining that Elizabeth Fairchild was a bit too strong and nobody was ever taking Charles. So they've changed things up a little bit there. And again, that is optional, but I will choose to play with that because I do personally like that change. So I'm going to swap that in as well. And then the only other thing from the new expansion that I'm going to be using is this sort of walkthrough of the new version of how a passing turn works. I'll use that to explain in just a minute how the expansion is going to work, but I'll also keep it off to the side here for reference later on if I need it. And then just a couple of things to sort of explain how I've set the game up for my solo playthrough. I will be playing as Ponsonby, which means that I should be starting the game with 300 pounds. I'll throw those there right there. I've drawn my starting casual guests. I've got this guy right here that gets me 2 reputation for a valet. And this guy right here who simply gets me 100 pounds and does not require any servants. In addition, for the solo mode, I've been playing through since I've gotten the game, starting with the easiest solo AI and working my way through them, increasing in difficulty. And I've played through most of them either with the base game or now with the base game and the characters expansion. So for this expansion, or sorry, for this video, I'm going to simply be playing the next one in sort of in order that I haven't yet played against. So this will be the first time I'm playing against this AI. They're going to start with 126 points, which is pretty high. And I have no idea if I'm going to be able to beat them or if they're going to completely destroy me, but I have beaten every other solo AI below this one, either with the base game or with the new characters expansion. So I'm going to challenge myself on camera and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not too bad, but it will also mean that I have to play smartly and hopefully make use of a lot of the new expansion pieces in my gameplay so you can see how they all work out. And with that said, we are all set up for the game. But now I need to teach you how all of the new components work, or all of the new mechanisms work in the new expansion. So first I mentioned that in the both casual and prestige guests, there are some new guests from the expansion, but I'm not going to pull those out and show them to you until they come out in gameplay, and I'll explain them as they come out. But there will be some that don't come out, so at the end of the video when I am talking about components, if you'd like to check out that section, I will run through more of them so you can see exactly how all of the different new card mechanisms play out. The objective deck is again just replacing the old objective deck. There are a couple new types of objectives, but for right now you won't be seeing them because one of them is the majority objective, which doesn't do anything in the solo mode. And the other one is a new objective that sort of gives you points for a combination of specific servants and tiles. But those servants are all upstairs, downstairs servants, so again, you won't see those either in this playthrough. So the objective deck is a new deck, but ultimately it doesn't really change much. Except that you will now notice, and I'll start talking about this board now, that there are some objectives here. And additionally, every time I discard an objective throughout gameplay, I will discard there. And because I'm playing a solo mode, every time I discard a card there, I also draw 2 cards from here and discard those as well. So this is going to be sort of a backup reservoir of objectives. And I might as well take this opportunity then to explain how the characters work in this new expansion. There are 3 characters, the Reverend Grantley, the Eccentric Dowager, and the Constable Bucket characters. And those are going to take sort of effect during a pass turn of the game. So one of the biggest changes of this new expansion is how a passing turn works. And part of this change actually was already sort of added in the upstairs downstairs expansion, which actually unfortunately I haven't had a chance to try out yet, but hopefully will do soon. But that first change was that during a passing turn, instead of clearing the market or taking your 200 pounds, you could also use your butler to activate the butler's room and recruit some new servants during a passing turn rather than using a normal turn to do so. So that's included as well in this new expansion. But let me show you this flowchart first, explain how this works, and then I'll talk about how each of the different characters works. But during a passing turn, as normal, we will pass, refresh service, reclaim all of our cards, observe any track events on the round tracker, take any points for monuments, or activate any servants' halls. But then this is the new section for the new expansion. I can choose not to invite a character at all, in which case it behaves pretty much like the old version of the game, plus that additional hiring servants action from the upstairs downstairs expansion. But I could also choose to invite one of the three characters. And the way that I'm going to invite one of the three characters is I'm going to use one of the footmen that I have in available service, placing them out in the location of the, here or here, in the location of the character that I'm choosing to invite to my estate. And what that means is as soon as I place out that footman, I will then take the character and place them in my activity area in sort of preparation for the next round. And in the following round, that's when that character will activate. And you'll see that if I invite the constable or the reverend, I will continue to a normal passing action, collecting 200 pounds, refreshing the builder's market, or hiring servants using the butler and the butler's room. And then I can buy from the market always. If I invite the eccentric dowager, however, I skip those available actions and go straight to a market phase only. So let me explain how the characters work. Starting with the Reverend Grantley, I sort of mentioned this already, but when I have the Reverend Grantley at my estate, I can exchange up to 2 of my objectives with an objective from the pile on the board. And if I choose to do that, I will need to pay 100 pounds per objective that I do exchange between those 2 places. The Constable Bucket, when he is at my estate, for any event that I hold at my estate while the Constable is there, I can ignore any of the negative effects on any of my cards. And then when the Constable returns back to the board, they will then allow or take with them, or basically let me discard any of those unsavory guests at the same time. And unsavory guests, again, are the ones that have the negative endgame points. So again, when the Constable is with me, in the event at that round, I can ignore any negative effects, and then when the Constable leaves, I can discard as many unsavory guests as I'd like to. And then finally, the eccentric dowager does nothing while they're with you, but when the eccentric dowager comes to your estate, they will bring with them one of the exiled guests. And these are all sort of foreign dignitaries that are coming to visit. They all do have some kind of negative cost down here, but then most of them are going to allow me to bring in new prestige guests or potentially increase my reputation pretty strongly. And I can simply select one of those cards when the dowager visits my estate. And then again, they come to my board, and on the following turn, I make use of them. When they go back to the board, so as I return them to the board at the end of that turn, that footman then comes back into expended service from their trip to that location. The only other thing on the board now are these second chance domestics. And the second chance domestics are something I can actually make use of any round, regardless of which action I take, whether it's a pass action or a normal sort of hosting an activity action. I can simply exhaust my butler to select up to 2 of the second chance domestics or second chance servants and bring them back to my estate. And I should note that this can be done at any time during the turn after either rotating or refreshing service, which means I can sort of do this in the middle of a turn as well if I suddenly need a servant for an activity or for a guest that's coming to that activity and I'm lacking that servant. And these servants are going to be a little bit special because they don't quite act like the normal servants. They can't ever be used for placing out on the board if I take the footman, but otherwise they can be used for activities and guests just as if they were a normal servant, except that if I use a servant in an event that has any prestige guests, or I use that servant directly for a prestige guest, I will lose 2 reputation. And if I use that servant on an event that has any respectable guests, meaning casual guests that have a point score of 0 or more, I will lose 1 reputation. But otherwise, if I use that second chance guest with an activity that has only family members or unsavory or negative point guests, or if I use that servant directly with a family member or unsavory negative point guest, I won't lose any reputation at all. It's also worth noting that these second chance second chance servants cannot be used to score any objective cards that require me to have a certain number of servants or a certain type of servants. And also at the end of the game, while a normal servant will score me 2 points for each servant that I have, these second chance servants will actually lose me 2 points for each of them that I have. But otherwise they stay in my employ just like a normal servant, and I can make use of them mostly just like a normal servant, except for those reputation hits that I will take if I use them to help a prestige guest or a respectable guest during gameplay. So that's basically it for the new mechanisms. So we're going to go ahead and get into gameplay. Let me slide this back, reset. Again, I am Ponsonby. I start with 300 pounds. I am playing against the Gladstone AI, who is starting with 126 points. Let me take a look at what the AI is going to be doing, what my objectives are showing, what the extra objectives are showing, a little bit of what is available to me, and go ahead and get into gameplay. So first off, looking at Gladstone, in the first phase or first season, they're going to have 0 brown, 2 blue, 2 pink or 2 red, 0 purple, and 1 green. Which means brown is good whether or not I flip it. Blue, if I flip it, is still only going to be 1, and they're starting with 2. So we will need to do something about that if I want to match them. Red, again, is a -2. If I flip it, is a +2, so we would be tied. Purple is -2. If I flip it, is a 2, so I would be winning. And green, likewise, is a -3, but I flip it as a +2, so I would also be winning that one. So right now, the priority should be blue, red, purple, and green. But if I flip this brown, I will still have enough points to tie them in the first round. And that would give me access to Village Fair, which will get me money and reputation twice in the game. And that might be worth having. So I might need to focus on that. We'll see how that plays out moving forward. But I think I might actually do that. But let's take a look at the objectives and see what I have first before I go too far ahead of myself. Starting with this one here, Conservatory, Flower Room, and Music Room gets me 16 points. None of those are out on the board yet. Conservatory and a Library gets me 12 points. Well, those both have Conservatory, so if I can focus on those, that might not be a bad idea. And Under Butler gets me 5, which could be easy or not, depending on whether or not that blue tile comes out. The Cabinet of Curiosities gets me 5 points. Again, that's requiring that tile to come out. We'll see what happens. And finally, 1 VP for each prestige guest. So if I focus on bringing in lots of new guests, I can score some points from that as well. So right now, none of those are jumping out at me, except that these two are both Conservatory and are worth a lot of points if I can get them done. But I don't see any of those other rooms, no Library, no Flower Room, no Music Room, no Conservatory, but those could very easily come out during gameplay. Looking at what's available to swap, if I finish with at least 1,200 pounds, 10 VP, I don't know that I've ever had that much money left, so I don't know if I'll focus on that. Max Reputation gets me 7 points. That might be something I swap in late game if I need it. Here we've got Smoking Room and Drawing Room for 10 points, and both of those are out right now. So I may have to focus on that, even though I don't have it, and then make use of the Reverend later in the game. And finally, 1 VP for each 3 guests. That's only good if I focus on grabbing lots of guests, and I'm not sure whether or not I'll do that. I'm going to leave the smoking room, drawing room on top, just to remind myself I'm interested in doing that. Then, looking at what's on the board. Proper Grounds is one that gets me a free reputation every time I use an estate tile. And looking at their board, brown is 12, red is 9, and purple is 13 at the end of the game. Means red is something I probably might focus on, so having an extra reputation each time would be a really good thing to do. Plus, that's a 2 blue, which would instantly tie me with them for blue. So I'm going to focus on that for sure. Croquet lawn and tennis courts are both minuses to start, but always it's nice to have money to get more stuff later on, so I might grab one of those. And if I flip the bowling green, that gets me 2. So even if I take a -1, I'm still tying them for green. So maybe that. Smoking room and drawing room are both things that I want to have because of this 13 purple. I need lots of purple going for me. The green room I don't care too much, except that it is a brown for 3 points, and I do need 12 brown at the end. And if it flips, then it's a 3 purple, which is also nice for me to have. So that's potentially nice, but it's nothing all that important right now. But what I want to focus on right now is I really want to get those 2 purple tiles. Now or later, I don't know, but I want them. I also want this barn. So that's a 300 minus 200, or sorry, 300 minus 100 is 200 pounds. And this is 600. So I want to start getting some money. I also want to get the village fair before the village fair hits. But let's focus on a big buying turn first. So bowling green's going out. And I will place a footman there. And then that says I need to place 2 gentry. So I want to focus on money and reputation right now. 300, I've already got 300 is 600, so I don't need a ton of anything else. I'm going to stay away from family because sometimes I need specifically family like this. Village fair planning. I want to save my ladies so that I can use this purple tile if I want to. So I'm going to use this and this. Placing my valet there gets me an extra 100 pounds and an extra 2 reputation. So I get 2 reputation and 300, 400 pounds. So I'll swap 100 for a 500, like that. And then I'm going to spend 6 to take the smoking room. Flipping, oops, clearing these cards, moving this down, flipping this one back over. So now my green's at 2. Purple is still at a -1, so that's not great for me. I'll move this over so I can keep my spent cards here. All right, these slide down, we refill with a tile, which is the cricket field. Big money, big money. So I might focus on that one later. And the AI takes their turn. 16 means they take nothing, but the next time we'll subtract 5. All right, moving into round 2. They slide down like that. Now I want to hit the village fair so that when it triggers next round, I get stuff from it. So the butler goes there and I have to play 2 family. I definitely want more stuff down here. So I am going to play her. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'd love to recruit more people, but I might have to. I might need to focus on that before I focus on that, even though I want more purple. Because I want more guests before I start running out of stuff. Okay, in which case 2 gentry and this is 2 family, so it doesn't matter who I play currently, except that I need money to buy that barn. I've got 1, I need 1 more, so otherwise anything is fine. So I will play, no, that one and that one, which gets me 200 pounds. And then this lets me take 2 from here and keep 1, or get rid of something. I don't have anything to get rid of yet, so I'm going to take 2 from here, and one of them is a new card. So let me show you what we've got. First, this one here lets me use a valet to get 2 reputation and £100. That's great. It is level 2, but hopefully I'll be there soonish. She's a level 1. Not worth any points. Costs £100 to use. But she's going to allow me to take 1 casual guest card back from my spent pile into my available guests pile. That's very strong. Except that 2 reputation and £100 seems to be much better than that. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be using her this game. She goes to the bottom. I'll keep him. Those 2 go away. He comes back. This flips over. So what that means is now I have 0. We are tied for the first round, but the next round is a 3. So I do need to focus on getting some browns moving forward if I can, just in case brown triggers in that courtship phase. Then I am going to spend 200 to take the barn, like that, which now ties me for blue, which is good. Those all slide down again, and I replace with the gabled conservatory, which is great because I need that for this one and this one if I decide to get them. I'm still trying to get this drawing room, but that's not going to happen this round because I'm not going to have that much money, but we'll see what happens next. 2 minus 5, that's the lowest, is 1, is position 1. They take the croquet lawn. Sliding down again, 500 for the drawing room. I'd love those 2. Let's just hope they don't take them. There's a West Terrace. We move into the Village Fair, which actually works out really nicely for me, because now I take £300 for the Village Fair and 2 reputation like that. Yes. Great, great, great. Service rotates, and I am going to activate the main gazebo, inviting guests for some afternoon tea. My footman goes there. I need 2 gentry. I can't use him yet because I'm not reputation 2. So I have to use those 2 cards. And in doing so, I'm going to get 1 prestige guest here, which is this reputation 4 guest that gets me another prestige guest. And either 100 or a reputation. Now a reputation would be great because that would go to 2. Except that if I get this purple tile, then I'm winning on purple. And then I'm winning, or at least tied on red, tied on blue, tied on brown, and winning on green. I'm safe if I do that. So I'm taking the extra £100 and not the reputation. This clears away. Let me do things one at a time. They go away. He comes down. This flips over like that. Now I'm spending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to take the drawing room, which is great because it means that I can score that at the end of the game. Those slide down. We cross our fingers. He doesn't take the conservatory, so I can get it later. We get a butler's pantry that comes out, which would get me an under butler to score that, which may be good. We'll see. Yes, then AI takes their turn. 16, again, nothing. Cool. And we move into our first courtship. I am safe. I would love to see green come out because I win. Or let's see, 3 minus 2 is 1. Purple comes out, I win. Red and blue and brown are all tied. So I'd love to see green or purple so I can get a Fairchild, but let's see what happens. We get a brown, which is a little bit of a problem because they're going up to 12, and I know in the last round they're going to add them all together. So I really need to rush a brown now. Yeah, but that's not a great brown, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, we tied. They get a VP card. I get a VP card, which is 4 points or 3 reputation. That's nice. And then I need to get rid of 1 objective card. Noting that getting rid of objective cards in this new version is not so bad because it goes to the Reverend and I can always take it back again. So I'm going to say that probably I don't get a ton of prestige guests, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'm going to put it to the bottom because I want to keep that on top to remember I'm grabbing that if I can. And then we add 2 more from here. This one gets me 5 points for having a stateroom. And this one gets me 11 points for having a flower room and any garden. Well, we don't see flower rooms or gardens there, so we'll put those below. I might pull it back out later. Then next round, sliding those down. But now we find ourselves in a not so great situation. Hold on, before I do that, these service tiles are now in the reserve, and I should refill that tile, which is the Croquelon. And this is going to be a little bit of an issue. Not really, but a little bit. In that, I don't have any money. I also don't have any cards that I can use, because he's Reputation 2 and 4, and I'm still 1. So I need to take a passing action. And this is when I'm going to walk through the new passing steps. So I'm passing, I refresh my service, so I get my footman back. I am then going to reclaim my deck, which is important because I have nobody left to use. And I'm kind of not having a ton of space on the table just because of the camera setup, but that's fine. We'll make it work. Observing the round track event, there are none. Observing monuments or evaluating monuments in servant halls, I don't have any. So now I get to invite a character if I'd like to. Now, I could invite the eccentric dowager and take one of these cards, which wouldn't be a bad idea, except the only one I could use anytime soon is this 2, which is a woman that gets me lots of reputation, which is nice to have. But if I do that, I don't get any pass action, and I really want to use my butler to bring in more servants, especially because I can see that I've got a couple of extra green cards coming. But not that many. And having a $100 or £100 3 reputation could be pretty big right now. I think I might do that. Yeah, why not? Then I can show you how it works. So I take the eccentric dowager, and I am going to bring Lady Sophie Meyer into my guest list, which means I can't do any of the 3 passing actions, meaning collecting money, refreshing the market, or using my butler's room. Except that using my butler's room will get me to a 3, which would get me that. Hold on a minute. Yeah, she's not as important as she needs to be. I'm going to undo that because I want that blue after all. And there's no reason to call the Reverend until I know that I have multiple cards there that I want, and I guarantee I will be passing again at some point. So I am going to use my butler's room. Using my butler, flipping that over, and now recruiting or hiring 2 servants. I know I need green, and if I do get her later, or I do get the Fairchild later, or I just happen to pull more ladies, I will need more of these, so I will take one of those. And I will take one more valet. And that is my turn. The AI is rolling. They roll an 18 minus 5 is 13. Position 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. They don't take this conservatory still. Ooh, and there's my cabinet of curiosities, which could score off of that. I don't know if I care too much, but possibly so. I need a brown to tie. My blue's already tied. A little bit more red would be nice. If I can get that, that's wonderful. Purple, 3 minus 2 is not good, but if I flip that, I'm tied at 5. And green is not great. I've got a 2. What does this become? That's a 3. That's only 5 and not 6, which is not great, but I can't do anything else with the others. So I'd love to focus on those 3, but I can only buy 2 more this season. In any case, we move to the objective phase. I draw 2 more objectives. 6 points for 3 ladies' maids, and again, I can't use any of the second chance servants for that card, or 1 point per pink or red estate tile. So right now, neither of those seems too amazing, but we'll see what happens as we play through. We rotate service. I have to do this whist game in the front parlor because I need my reputation to go up so I can start using my level 2 tiles and level 2 guests. So 2 ladies. First off, she needs to go there. And I need to play 2 ladies. I only have 3. And I can't play this one yet because that's level 4. So I have to play these 2 ladies. She's going to draw a card. And it's not negative, which is great. 1 regular casual guest and 1 reputation. And she's going to then draw 2 cards because I don't need to get rid of anything and choose 1. I've got a guy that gets me 100 pounds, or a woman for minus 200 will get me a prestige guest. That's very tempting because more prestige guests is always a good thing, but it's only a -1. She's expensive, but having more ladies is also not a bad idea. So yes, I'm going to take her. He goes back under, like that. And then I get 3 reputation, 1, 2, 3. This flips to 2, like that. And she comes back here. Those cards go away. This flips over and comes back. 2, 3, 4, 5 means I am now winning or tying purple. Problem is, I don't have any money still, which is not a good thing. Really not a good thing. And that's only 300. Hold on, did I overspend? I think, oh no, that's right, 1, 2, 3 is fine. Okay, but I don't have any money. That may have been the wrong order to do things. Hold on a minute. And I haven't been moving my tracker correctly. Hold on. Is there some way that I could have made 300 if I did something else? Yes, there is. But I wouldn't be able to do any of those things. Hold on a minute. 2, 4, 5. I still can't get that 6. Yeah. Hold on. I'm undoing that. I need to do money first or I'm in trouble. So we go back 1, 2, 3. Sorry, everything gets undone. That comes back. She comes back here. And let's reevaluate because that's going to hurt me. I am only level 1. I need 300 bucks. That didn't happen yet. Sorry, I undid the wrong one. Wait a minute. I need money. So I'm actually going to use the bowling green again, which is not great, but it has to happen. 2 gentry. I need $300 or 300 pounds because I have to get the tennis courts. I have to. And there's no way for me to get a reputation and money at the same time. So I'm playing this guy. Oh, wait a minute. That's 200 already. Yeah, so I'm playing him and him for 2 reputation. That's easier. Okay, so that's 2 and 400 pounds. And 2 reputation, 1, 2. Sorry, I should have flipped that, but now it just flips back. I think this is going to work out much better. Let's see what happens. So these go here. This stays flipped. And now I can spend 300 to take the tennis court, which I need to do. Those all slide down, which means this is getting cheaper as long as it doesn't disappear. I fill in the English garden, which is nice, because that ties in with the garden one I saw before, which was flower room in a garden. And flower room I need for this one as well. We'll see, but that's nice to see it come out. Brown is scaring me, but we can hold off for right now. The AI takes their turn as a 3. They take the green room away, which is fine because the conservatory continues to get cheaper. And I will place a tile. And now I realize I still have the 2 guests that I drew in that last round, but I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before now. These all slide over. I play that lady. I play the two ladies that I already played before, which gets me what I already have, plus 1, 2, 3 reputation. And that plays out slightly better than what I was hoping for. Fortunately, it means I still don't have the money for that, but I can do in a future round. I hope, assuming they don't take it right now. 17 is nothing. Good. Good, good, good. All right, then we move on to our second courtship, which is, wow, we are in big trouble if I can't start getting lots of brown. Because I'm at 0 now, they're at 3, and the only thing I have here is a library that becomes 5, and I need 12 now for the next, and this is expensive until we start buying other things. So that's not good because that means they get a VP, and basically they get a Fairchild, but they don't use them, they'll only score them in the last round, so I'm just gonna leave it right there. But that's not good. Moving into the next turn, they all slide over. This is another village fair, so I get another 300 coins. I get another 2 reputation, putting me up to 3. Then, wow, I need brown, but I also want that conservatory, and this plus the library is 12 points anyway. That's awesome. So we're definitely starting off with a money turn. Tennis courts. 2 gentry need to get out. I need 4 plus 9 right now would be 13, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 2 gentry. Let's make some money if I can. I am past level 2 now, so he gets played. And yeah, it doesn't matter which of these I play, so I will play that one. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 pounds. And 2 reputation, 1, 2, like that. These come off. And that flips over to a 3. We're now at a 5 green. We need a 9 green. Then I can spend 1, 2, 3, 400 to take the cricket field. And when I flip the cricket field later, that's 6 points. We will be winning green. So that's good for right this second. And the one nice thing is that I know in the next round no brown will come out because there's only 2 browns in the deck. So I need to focus on brown, but currently I need to get ahead in green and purple and so on before I do anything else. And I need to get some more stuff going. I definitely need to go here once and maybe go here to get some more prestige guests going. But I don't know if I can pass that many times moving forward. These slide down. Wait a minute, what did I do? I bought a cricket field. I didn't want to buy a cricket field. I want a conservatory. 2, 6, yeah, I want the conservatory like that. That slides down. I still wouldn't mind having that if I have the money for it, but I want this library more importantly. Oh, there's my flower room. Also nice to have. There's so much nice to have. I want it all. 19 minus 5 is 14, means they take 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. The library. Of course, the one tile that I absolutely needed to have is now gone. Okay, let's see what else we can do then. I need more guests. 100% I need more guests. And I can't use this card. Because I'm not level 4 yet. I have to pass right now. 100% I have to pass right now. So I'm going to pass on this turn. Means they all get saved. Then I get all of my cards back. Like that. Then I observe round track. There isn't any. Monuments and servants. There aren't any. Recruiting. Do I care about $200 or pounds? Do I care about the servants? No. Do I want to refresh? Very no. Then I am recruiting the eccentric dowager, and I don't need the reputation right at this moment. I want one of these two, because that will allow me to take prestige guests. And do I want men or women? 1, 2, 3, 4 women, 5 women, and 5 men. I'm even Stevens. So I'm going to take the ladies, gentlemen. It doesn't really matter. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'll take the guy, put the lady back, just because I've got the smoking room that I might want to hit, because purple is going to be higher than red. And then I can buy something. I've got 500. I could lose a little reputation to take the garden, or take the green and get lots of money for it. And then on the next turn have a big money turn. Yeah, let's do that. 500, getting 1 change, getting the cricket field. Like that. Good. Those all slide down. I roll a 4. He takes the croquet lawn, which is fine with me. And I should have replaced before his turn, so that goes there. Oh, there's my music room. I need that so badly. Flower room, music room, and conservatory gets me 16 points. Brown library also gets me that. Wow, there's so many tiles out that I want, and I need them all. And I just cheated a little. When I took the dowager, I should have put a footman out there. But since I passed, I had him anyway. He goes there. Means I can't use him this turn, but that's okay because I don't have anything that needs him except that, and I'm not doing that. That's a lie. I want to do that. And this is going to be where I show you. Yeah, all right. I'm going to use the cricket field. And to do that, I'm going to exhaust my butler to take the second chance guy, which means now if I play any prestige guests, I'll lose 2 reputation. Or if I use any respectable guests, I will lose 1 reputation. But those are not cumulative. You lose the highest one. So if I use a prestige guest and a respectable guest, it will only be 1 reputation loss. So 500 pounds already. I wouldn't mind having this just because it's big. But I want the garden. I want the flower room. That's 5. If I can get 7 more is not going to happen. That's 4. I can almost definitely get 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many guests do I need? 5 gentlemen. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'd love to use this guy, but I can't lose 200 right now. But I can. If I've got all of this stuff, and reputation is good, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so let's start here, 500. Then 100 from him. Two reputation, 1, 2, flipping to 4, and 100. 200 from him, just moving things out of the way so I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then either 100 or a reputation. He's going to take 100. Like that. And then finally, this guy gets played, spending those 2 100. to see 2 prestige guests and take 1. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, but I don't know if I'll ever get to 6 reputation. But at 6 reputation, I get a VP card and 600 pounds. That's great late game. And then here, 5 reputation. She takes 2 ladies maids though, VP and 2. I don't think I'm ever going to have that many servants available to take her, so I will take him. And I got to get that to 6 quick. But I don't have that many turns, and I did forget to move this forward. This is a builder's holiday, but let me clear out first. Those come there. He comes here. This flips over like that. Okay. Then she goes back home. My footman comes back home. I spend the 400 to get the Cabinet of Curiosities. And I spend 500 to take the flower room. Like that. They all slide down. And we get a Hillside Kennels and the breakfast room in this order, 55, 75, like that. AI takes their turn, is 17, nothing. And we go into courtship, which is purple. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 is 9. All right, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they have 9, so we tie. That's sad because I don't get a Fairchild to use this round, and I would love to. But it's not the end of the world otherwise. Yes. Okay, whoops, that was courtship. And I did realize then that I forgot to discard VP cards the last time. So I would have gotten rid of this estate card. And when I do that, I get rid of 2 more from here. Barn and brushing room for 6. And service tiles for 1 each, like that. And now I got to do the exact same thing again. There's no way I'm getting these lady maids. Hold on a minute. I got rid of the estate, but let's get rid of the under butler because I'm not doing that. Instead, the ladies maids go away, and again 2 more. Purple prestige, get 1 per tile. And if I have 6 of something, if I have 5 of something, I get 6 points. Moving into the next turn. Got 3 turns left in the game. Green, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is winning already. I don't need to worry about green at all, except for maybe money. What else? If I can get up to 6, I don't even need to. National holiday gets me to 6. I need to buy this music room and this library. Conservatory flower room. Yeah, if I can get those 2, I score those 2, and that's huge. And I know purple's big, so I need to keep pushing purples. I am level 4. First things first, these slide over. All right, so looking at what I've got, I know I need to pass once because I want to come up here and get that for 10 points. It's a lot of points. I'd like to flip a red and get some red, just in case red comes out. I will be getting purple and hopefully brown. I don't know about the red. And blue is also 1 down. I mean, I gotta hope the green or purple comes out in the last round. Brown, though, is 12, and I'm in trouble. So I kind of gotta get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is still below in purple. I need to flip a purple, and I need to get a brown and flip a brown. All right, so I'm gonna pass this round. Yeah, I'm passing this round. Everybody slides over because I don't have the servants I need anyway. I get all my cards back. Like that. Yeah. I'm gonna take the 200 pounds and I'm going to invite Reverend Grantley back to my estate like that. Now we roll the dice and really hope that they don't take what I need. 4 minus 5 is the lowest they can get is 1. English garden, I don't need. I want the music room, I want the library. I need them both pretty badly. Comes out with a stateroom. Okay. Then I need to do one of these 2 things, but I need to be careful. because I'm taking the library, which is going to require, hold on, it's national holiday, so I can do whatever I want to. I'm taking the library, which means I need my butler. So I'm going to use the cabinet of curiosities to save my butler. Footman goes there. Then, I need money, and we're on national holiday, so I can use whatever I want to. Hi, Richard, Duke of Longford. You need a valet, but you gave me 600 pounds and a victory point. Yes, please. I'm playing 2 gentry, so I get to place one more something out on this turn. Thinking about, if I play the North Library, I need 4 gentlemen in the next turn. So I'm only going to have 1 valet. Unless I take another second chance, but I don't think I want to do that. I need 1 more person. Maybe make this my money round. Yeah, why not? No, I could place out a woman. I don't want to spend any money. Extra reputation's not a bad idea. I'm a little scared of what that casual guest is going to give me, though. No, you know what? Let's use this woman right here. So I get a prestige guest. That works. Okay, good. So I get 600 coins. I get a VP card, which is 5 points or refresh. I don't need the refresh, but the 5 points could be nice. Well, could be nice, will be nice. I get 1 prestige guest, which is another gentleman, 3 reputation with a valet cost. And then I get 6 reputation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brings me to a 5. Then I just realized I made a problem mistake. I had to place that footman to take the Reverend last turn. So I don't have him anymore. So I did have to use my second chance footman, which means that I am losing 1, 2 victory points because I am playing a prestige guest. So I am still like that, but that's okay. That's okay. In any case, the Reverend goes back now and I can take cards. I only need this one because I'm trying to score both of these right now. So I will replace, it doesn't really matter. Do I have the Cabinet of Curiosities? I do, so let's keep that just in case. We'll return that one. I have to spend 100 pounds for doing that. And now I am going to score that 10 points. That's great. These guys get expended. Those cards go away. This flips over like that. And then I'm buying something. Music room gets me 16 points, but I need that to flip, so I have to buy that now. I have to. 500 flipped, and I'll take that, place it here. It's not going to compete against the 12, but it's better than a 0 if I flip that. I have to. Those slide down like that. Another tile comes out. Another Cabinet of Curiosities. Please don't take my music room. 5 to 7 is a bad thing. 19, perfect. They take nothing. Last turn of the game, they rotate down. I need at least 200 pounds. I need to play my library. Butler goes there. I must play 4 gentlemen. And I only have 1 valet. So I can only play 1 valet gentleman. So I play 100, 200. Then 1, 2, 3 is meaningless. 2 versus 3 doesn't change anything right now. So I am going to play the guy who gets me more money. I need a valet for him. And then in my last chance, the only other one I can play for free is this one right here. So let me go through everything that I just did. This guy gets me 100 or reputation. I'm going to take the 100. This guy gets me 100 and 2 reputation. So I get 1, 2 reputation, which does now finally make me to 5, and I get 100 pounds. This guy gets me 200 pounds. 1, 2. This guy gets me another 100 pounds. Like that. Butler comes down. This one flips over, so now I do have a 4. It's not anywhere near a 12, but it's better. And I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 400 to buy that music room, which doesn't fit on the screen, so I'm just going to stick it here like that. Those slide down. Now we just hope that the AI doesn't get a monument on his last turn. No monuments, good. He rolls a 3 minus 5 is still a 1. They'll take the tennis court, which doesn't matter. There's really no reason for me to refill the market because that is the end of the game. We move into final courtship. The last card is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15. I win purple. 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. I'm winning green. Purple or green would be the best option for me right now. Please, it's a blue. Yeah, we're not going to win this because brown is 12 and 12 is 24. And purple is 24 and 13 is 37. Plus 4 is 41. Let me do that again. 4 and 13 is 17. And 12 is 18, 19, 29. Plus another 12, 30, 31, and 41. And for me, I've got 4 and 4 is 8. And 3 is 9, 10, 11. And then 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 26 to 41. It's safe to say they win that. So they get the VP and they get the Fairchild, which means I've pretty much guaranteed a loss this game, but let's go ahead and add up all my points. All right, so starting with my tiles, 0 and 4 is 4, 1 and 2 is 3, 2, 1 and 0 is another 3, 2, 1, 2, 7, 3, that's 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. And here's 2, 3, and 6 is 5 and 6 is 11. So that's 36 points for my tiles. Then my gentry cards, which is not going to be great, but let's go through them because I do have a couple negatives, but hopefully not super negative. And also not too many prestige guests, so not great. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minus 1 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 17, and 20 points from my gentry. Objective cards. I do need to discard one objective card, and clearly it will be that one because I've got Conservatory, Flower Room, and Music Room gets me 16 points. Conservatory and a Library. Conservatory and the North Library gets me 12 points. The Smoking Room and the Drawing Room together gets me 10 points. Then Reputation is at 5, which gives me 15 points. My Service VP is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Minus the 2 for him is another 10 points. My Wealth, 1 point for every 2 coins. I've got 3, so I get 1 point. Plus my Courtship VPs, which are 4, 4, and 5. So 9 and 4 is 13, which means I finish with a score, not bad at all, of 133. Unfortunately, AI starts with 126, adds in the 8 from the Fairchild, which means they're already winning. And then finally, 3, 4, 3, and 4 is another 14 points, which means they beat me 148 to 133. Although if I had somehow pulled out that final turn, the Fairchild and the VP card is basically what beat me. So it wasn't that horribly different, but I did end up losing. But again, this is a very high-level AI, so it doesn't surprise me too much. Now, normally I do take a look at components here, but again, this is all prototype stuff that's here. The board extension, I can't really comment because it's not the final board extension, but I do love that the artwork continues and it does sort of make the board just longer and fit the tableau a little bit nicer. I like the way that that looks. I love that the second chance domestics, let me give you another close-up of them, I love that the second chance domestics are sort of like disheveled versions of the original servants. Really, really cool idea that their hair is kind of sticking out. I like that a lot. The other wooden components, the constable, the reverend, and the dowager. Again, I'm a big fan of chunky wooden components, and I love the way that these look. The shapes, it really brings in the theme and the character with these three pieces. While I'm here, I do want to show you, let me go ahead and through these card decks. I'll be back in just a second. I want to show you the different sort of additional character abilities that are on some of the other guests that you didn't get to see, because there are some other interesting new additions to the game, and I didn't really get them to come out so much in gameplay this time, so I do want you to see those. So give me a second and I'll be right back. All right, so taking a look at the new casual guests. Here, lose a reputation, -2 points for 200. Nothing all that new. Here's that ability I was showing you before that allows me to take a card back from my played cards into my available cards, this time casual only. Again, choosing between two casual guests. Here is a new type of card called an anti-socialite. When you play this guest at an event or at an activity, you must bring one fewer guests to that activity, but they give you lots of money and a reputation for doing so. Same thing, take 2 casual guests, refresh a card. This one can be any card, so you could even get a prestige card back. And here's the opposite of an anti-socialite. This is a socialite, and when you play this guest at an activity, you actually bring an additional 2 guests to that activity, and must bring an additional 2 guests. So if you don't have them, you couldn't play that card. Big minus points though. Another socialite. Here we've got a minus reputation for big money. And here's a minus reputation for even bigger money. So those are the casual guests. And now for some prestige guests. Again, bringing prestige guest, bringing a card back to your available cards. Here's another discard ability that you don't get to see too much aside from that starting family member. This ability is amazing, and I love this, and I'll talk more about in my final thoughts probably, but this ability, when you play this guest at an activity, you can flip one of your tiles in your tableau for free without having to use that activity, which is big when you're competing for the courtship phase to get those Fairchild and those victory points. I love this card, +3 reputation. Granted, it requires a 5 to start, but that's a great card. Here's another one, slightly less reputation, that does the same thing with money. Great, great addition. I love that ability and the ability to bring cards back into your available cards without needing to take a passing action. One more interesting addition I do want to show you. It is in the new characters expansion, but unfortunately it's not something you can really use in the solo mode because it would make you too powerful against an AI that doesn't have this ability. But there are now these sort of distinguished family member cards. And basically, let me pull out my Ponsonby cards and I can show you the difference here. But for example, here is the standard card from the Ponsonby family. And then here is the distinguished card from the Ponsonby family. And you'll see that there's this new icon. This new icon means that whatever cards you play with this card at the activity, you don't need to have any servants. So you could play a bunch of cards that require valets or ladies' maids or anything else, and they wouldn't need servants if they're played with this card. Let me show you another updated card. Where is my family? Here we go. For example, this card originally has a casual guest and 2 reputation if you play it with a prestige man. But now, instead of that casual guest, she has the ability to pull a family card back from used guests back into your available guests. So there are upgraded versions of each of the family members, and the way that that sort of works is at the beginning of the game, each player is going to choose to replace one of their 4 or 5, if you start with Asquith, one of your starting family members with a distinguished family member to just give you a little bit of a boost and a little bit more of a sort of variable player power start to the game. I think that's really cool. And I will say this in the final thoughts, but I'll say it again right now. I know that Dan is working on a new sort of solo opponent that does take advantage of some of the new mechanics or mechanisms in the game. So if there was a way to use these cards in the solo mode, I would love to see that as well. That's basically all I can show you. There is no insert, there is no anything because I don't have a box for the game, but Dan has posted a video online that shows that all of the new expansion content will fit in the base box with the upstairs downstairs expansion as well, so I'm very excited to hear that too. That's basically all I've got to say about the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about this new expansion. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a little painful that I wasn't able to pull out that win at the end, but I did choose one of the hardest AIs in the box, so I sort of did it to myself. But I was able to show you how most of the new components in this expansion worked out. So I think it still stands as a good representation of the expansion, and I hope that that was helpful for you in understanding how the expansion changes up the game. Now, before I get into my final thoughts on this new expansion and what the new content and new mechanisms bring to the game, I just want to add one special thing here, or one point that I really want to make about this game and now this expansion as well. When I agreed to Dan Hallagan that I would cover this video on this, this game on this channel, I had a phone call with him to discuss sort of what the changes were and what I should be expecting when I received the prototype and what I should sort of be playing with and taking a look at in the solo mode. And I just want to point out that Dan Hallagan's love for this theme and the desire for the theme to be sort of meaningful and connecting in every aspect of this game came through in droves on this phone call. Everything he talked about was always theme first, and then how he managed to create mechanisms that improved upon the core game mechanisms, not just to fix the mechanisms, but to make sure that the theme was meaningful. And the way that he changed things up, or the way that he twisted things or improved things or resolved possible issues with the game, were all driven by things that thematically made sense that would actually make that happen in the story of the game as it plays. And for me, this is not a theme that I've ever really connected with, and it almost kept me from playing this game to start, which would be a shame because I love this base game. But I just want to point out that Dan oozes this theme every time he talks about this game, and I just really appreciate how much that theme is sort of squeezed into this box and how it just oozes out every time you play this game. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into a discussion of all the stuff that's in this expansion, or at least particularly the stuff that's usable in solo, because I showed you those distinguished family members in the components overview, and if you didn't take a look at that, definitely go back, because there was a little bit of final thought stuff in that component section as well. But focusing on what's usable in the solo mode, let's start first just by talking about the new guests in the game, because that's not a new mechanism, that's not a new twist on anything, it just adds a couple new abilities. And I talked about this in the components, but I just want to bring it back up here because there are some really cool new things added in here. So first, there are the guests that allow you to pull cards from the used guest pile into the sort of usable, available guests pile, just one at a time. But the fact that you can use a guest to do that now and don't have to use a pass turn is really great, because if you're playing a game that you haven't gotten a lot of new guests and your hand is small and you're running out of cards and you really can't afford to take a full pass action in the game, it's really nice to be able to have the ability to pull back a strong card. Especially, for example, I didn't do it in this playthrough because, well, I didn't have that card and I didn't ever get a Fairchild, unfortunately. But if you've got a Fairchild or some other really strong sort of prestige guest, the prestige guests or the Fairchild guests are often hard to pull back with that ability, but there are a couple that will do that. So the ability to play a Fairchild, and then on the next turn use a card that pulls that Fairchild back, and then again on the following turn use that Fairchild a second time. So using the Fairchild twice in the same season is just really cool to be able to pull off when it happens. Then the other new guest ability that allows you to flip a tile in your tableau is wonderful, because late game when you're trying to fight for different majorities in the different colored tiles for those courtship phases later in the game, to be able to flip a tile and pick up an additional 3, 4, maybe 5 points. I don't know exactly the max point spread on the front and back of a tile. But to be able to flip a tile and pull out that extra point differential late game to sort of squeeze out those points in a majority without needing to take a turn to put that tile up as your activity and then flip it is wonderful. It's just really cool to be able to do that, and I love to see that as an ability on the guest cards. Then, now there are the socialite and anti-socialite cards. I didn't get any of those to come out this time, but this is another really interesting twist on the game. Because if you play a socialite card, you have the ability to add more gentry, more guests into service, and what that means is you can get a massive turn if you play one of those on one of those bigger events and just play all of your stuff out. But remember, you need to have planned ahead to have the servants necessary to do that. And you have to be able to have enough cards available to you at that time to play them out like that. And doing that would feel so amazing if you could pull that off. But again, it also makes that guest harder to use because you need to make sure you're using it at a time when you have other guests. But it also means some of those activities that only allow for sort of 2 guests to be placed on them, well, now you can add in another or maybe even 2 more to that card, which feels really, really good and makes for these larger turns possible. The antisocial guests also maybe makes it a little less fun because then you can't get as much stuff out of there, but the antisocial guests themselves are fairly powerful. But on top of that, there are some of these activities that take like 5 gentlemen. You saw me play some of those late game. If I didn't have those 5 gentlemen, but I did have one antisocial guest that shrinks that a little bit, that might actually make those tiles playable when otherwise they wouldn't be. And that's actually another unique way that would be very, very helpful to have. So there's lots of these cool new abilities in the cards, but that's just extra cards, and that's not what the characters expansion is really all about. So let's focus on what it's really all about. That sideboard with the 3 characters, and then I'll talk about the second chance servants as well. But these 3 characters are now all focused on fixing possible problems with this game. I spoke about in my previous video that this game has a lot of what's called input randomness, meaning that at every opportunity, this game gives you a sort of random selection of stuff to deal with. It means random guests that you've got to use, random tiles that come out in the marketplace, random objectives that you get that you have to try and complete to score points. And it could be that randomness sort of ruins the game for certain people. I spoke about this in my original review, saying that I actually really love input randomness. As somebody who's a sort of turn-by-turn tactical player, it sort of works for me that I don't like to plan ahead too much, so this randomness is always presenting me with a unique and new puzzle that I have to think about. What do I have now? What's available to me now? And what's the best thing I can do to make the best of all of that stuff? That said, randomness does bother some people, maybe a lot of people, depending on how the randomness is used. But more importantly, even for somebody like me, where I enjoy the randomness, I enjoy the puzzle that presents to me, it's always nice to have more ways to sort of deal with or mitigate that randomness. And that's exactly what this expansion is designed to do. So there are 3 characters, and each of those characters is designed in such a way that it sort of addresses potential problems that could come out of this randomness. So let's start with the first one at the top of the board, is that constable. And this is my favorite one that's been added to the game because this allows for some mitigation of the randomness that comes out in the objective cards, which is huge. Because some of the objective cards are going to score you sort of 1 point per prestige guest or 1 point for every certain colored tile you get, and those are going to be low scoring. But some of them are going to be really high scoring based on certain sets of tiles. But then at the same time, if those tiles never come out into the marketplace, you can't physically get them. Even you keep refreshing the market and it doesn't come out and you're wasting turns refreshing, looking for those tiles, especially in a low player count game like this solo game, those tiles may never come out. In which case, if you started the game with those objectives and you have more than 3 of them, means one of them has to stay in your final objective round, it's useless. And there's nothing you can do about it if those tiles don't come out. There's no way for you to dig in the bag for a specific tile. There's no way for you to find that tile if it doesn't appear. Which means to now give me the option to have more objective possibilities and to swap out objectives to match whatever's coming out in gameplay is wonderful. Because for me, I love having these micro goals in games to focus on, and this gives me a sort of plethora, a wide array of different micro objectives to focus on, and I can see what's out there in the marketplace, what's in my tableau, what kind of cards do I have, and which of these things can I aim for Can I aim for more than 3? Because I know I'm going to finish with 3 unless I get a special card that gives me more. Can I aim for more than 3 objectives that I could potentially score, and then throughout gameplay, as things are unveiled and as things are revealed and as things are added to the market, start focusing in on which of these objectives is going to score me the most points? And then later on in the game, pull in the constable so I can swap in or swap out all of the cards that are going to score me the most points so that I can maximize the points that I get from the objectives. And being somebody who enjoys these micro objectives, it really feels good now that I have so many more options and I have so many more pathways to sort of focus on as I'm playing, making these tactical decisions based on the randomness in the game, that I can really, really sort of maximize the efficiency of which of these objectives I'm focused on and how I'm scoring points. Yes, I still use the objectives to sort of direct my thoughts and my planning and my tactical decisions and my strategy moving through the game, but now I can sort of flip things around and focus on getting objectives that match my play rather than playing to match the objectives. And that really adds a nice new level and a nice new layer to this game. The second one, moving straight down the sideboard, is the, I said constable before. The reverend is the one that allows you to switch the objectives. The constable, that's the second one at the bottom, is the police officer that will come to your house. Again, very thematically, the police officer will come to your house to deal with the ruffians or the less than ideal people that are at your events. And now this is an interesting one. I don't make much use of this one because I tend to be somebody who avoids negatives. And yes, I do have to pay the reverend to swap objectives, but money is something I'm always working to gain. When I bring the constable to my house, it looks bad to the people around me, and I'm going to lose 2 reputation for using the constable. And I always try my best to avoid losing that reputation if possible. But this is another potential problem in the randomness of the game, is that as you're drawing casual guests, you could end up with just a hand of lots of negative nonsense that you don't want to deal with in your game. But you've only got that one card that dismisses guests unless you get tiles or other things later that help you dismiss guests. Basically, if you're stuck with a big handful of negative, there's not much that you're going to be able to do. But now, if you call the constable to your house, you can first have a turn using all of those negative guests without taking any of their negative stuff, which is great, because if I've got a handful of these things, the part that's not negative tends to be a pretty powerful ability. So if I have this constable at my house, I don't have to deal with any of the negative. I get all of their positive, powerful abilities. And then, if I want to, I can just throw them all out and not have to deal with them for the rest of the game and not score any of the negative points at the end of the game, which is great. So again, here's another possible issue, a handful of negative cards, that is resolved by an interesting thematic twist on the game that allows you to take care of this randomness. Another great addition. Again, this one's probably my least favorite just because it's not something I make use of very often, but I'll talk about that at the end when I sort of wrap up my thoughts on this expansion. The third big character is the Dowager. And here is another interesting possible negative coming out in the randomness, and that is you may not be getting tiles or casual guests that allow you to add prestige guests to your hand. And if you don't have many prestige guests, you don't have many strong powers, means you're not getting a lot of money, you're not getting a lot of reputation, you're not getting a lot of big things because you're working off of casual guests. And it might just be that through the randomness of the game, you don't have the action, the ability, the access to these prestige guests. Well, now you do, because now if you go to the Dowager, you can bring home one of those exiles from the Dowager, which are all prestige guests, most of which also allow you to get more prestige guests. And it's going to be a draw one pick or draw two pick one situation, so you can really pick out all of the prestige guests that are matching the strategy that you are using in that particular play, which is really cool to see. But also, more importantly, which I really like, there's also one lower reputation person at the Dowager that doesn't give you more prestige guests, but actually gives you 3 reputation. And the ability to have 3 reputation at a level 2 reputation guest early in the game is great, because if you can cycle her through, you're flying up the reputation track, and then you can activate more of those high reputation, both activities and prestige guests, which gets you big, big stuff late game. And the ability to have that added in as a set thing that doesn't randomly get placed out is really, really nice to have. Now, it is a bigger decision than the other two characters, because if you take the Dowager, you also skip all of the pass actions. So you don't get any money, you don't get any refresh of the market, and you don't get the ability to use that butler. So it is a bigger decision, but there are some big plays that can come out of recruiting or bringing in a guest, an exiled guest from the Dowager's estate. And I really love that about this edition as well. Now, I did mention there the pass actions, the butler. I want to talk about this. I know it happened in the previous expansion, but I haven't played the previous expansion yet. Having the ability to use the butler to hire new servants on a pass action is huge, because playing that butler's hall to hire those servants as a turn means I get nothing else. I get no reputation, I get no cards, I get no money, and it might as well have been a pass action, except I don't get any cards back either. So that feels like an even more wasted turn, and now to have that combined in together with a pass action is wonderful. I don't mind giving up the 200 pounds. I don't mind passing on a potential market refresh sometimes if I can get two servants as part of a pass while also getting my cards back and while also refreshing all of my other servants. That is powerful, and I am very glad to see that in there. Again, it came in the previous expansion. I haven't played that in there, but that I have to thank Dan for a lot, because that makes every decision a whole lot easier when I know I don't have to waste a turn. Because not only does it get me more servants, it also flips a blue tile for one more point, which could be key in getting that majority in a blue color as well. I love that addition as well. Now, the last one is the second chance servants. This is an interesting twist that I didn't expect to enjoy, because as I just mentioned before, I don't really like negative points. But there's another small problem that comes out in this game in that if I get a bunch of cards that all require a certain kind of servant, if I get a lot of guys that all need valets, if I get a lot of ladies that need that lady's maid, and I don't have them, that means I need to keep using turns to get that butler, to hire more servants, to have those servants, to use those cards. And I need to plan ahead for that to happen. And I might get into a situation where I need a bunch of cards, but I don't have enough servants to play those cards. And now the second chance servants are there. And these are cool because these happen in the middle of a turn. So if I know that I need an activity now that uses a servant that I don't have, well, guess what? Now I can. I have to go there. I have to use my butler, so I need to make sure my butler is available. And then, yes, I'm going to get some negative reputation, and at the end of the game, I'm going to get some negative victory points. So I'm going to tell you this. When I started playing this expansion, for the first 3-4 games, I didn't use them at all, because I was working on getting servants anyway for some of those objectives that require servants. And I was really afraid of the negative reputation. I was really afraid of the negative victory points at the end of the game. But then I realized and then I didn't play with them so well this time in the playthrough you just watched, because I did play them with prestige guests and I did get hit a little with reputation. But in my previous game, I had a huge game because I was playing those second chance servants with some of those negative point, horrible people, bad guests, and I was playing some of them with family guests. And if I play them with family guests or these bad guys, in the last game I played, I had one that required negative reputation to get a bunch of money. And a bunch of money, I think it was 600 pounds, was awesome. So to be able to pair a second chance guest up with that one, I think he even required a footman, which was not great to be giving up. So using a second chance footman on that card to get me 600 pounds and not lose any extra reputation for using that second chance guest was huge. And it meant that I didn't have to go back to hire a real footman, because I could focus on valets and ladies' maids instead than doing that. And that was really, really, really awesome to be able to do. So once I did that and I saw the strength of these second chance servants, and I understood that if you pair them up with the right guests, or you pair them up with the right activities that have the right kind of guests, and you minimize that reputation hit, or you have prestige guests or other guests that are going to boost your reputation enough that that little reputation hit doesn't matter, this is a wonderful way to have some extra guests at the end, some extra servants that you can use throughout gameplay. And the great thing is they come right into your play right there. Although I just realized I think I made a mistake in this gameplay, because they don't come into available, they come into the previous one and slide in. So do I think I may have been using them one turn early and I had to have planned ahead one time? And if so, I apologize. I will leave a note in the subtitles if I did that. I played it right the last time. I think I played it wrong this time. Let me double check the rules. I apologize again. But in either case, they're really, really, really cool to have them available to you in the game like this. And I think that they're a great addition. I didn't think they were at first. I thought this is going to be something I never use, but the more I play now, the more I'm using these second chance servants, and they are really cool to have here. So again, all of these pieces of this expansion are here to address potential issues that might happen or might come out through the randomness of the game. I like that randomness, but I also love the ability to mitigate that randomness in different ways to fit my tactical decisions, to fit my strategies, and to help me come up with different interesting ways to interact with this game. I have to say this expansion is wonderful. And it's really interesting to me because this is an expansion that could potentially add a bunch of things to the game that you never use. I don't think I've ever had an expansion where almost everything that's added to the game is there as a sort of, if you need this, it's here for you kind of thing, rather than these are new mechanisms, this is new scoring, this is new potential. This is all about helping you solve problems that may not ever come up in a specific playthrough of this game. And I think that's great. I don't think that an expansion has to add more, because sometimes the game that's already there is great. And simply adding something in that allows you sort of help or assistance in certain things, should you need it in the gameplay, I think it's very interesting. I think it's a unique new idea. And again, I think this is a wonderful addition to Obsession. I can't wait to try the upstairs, downstairs expansion finally. And I can't wait to see how this integrates with that as well. If I do it soon while the campaign is still running, I might share some thoughts. Find me on Instagram, find me on Blue Sky, find me on Threads, find me wherever you find me. I'm Purple Moose Plays in all those places. If I get it played, I can't promise that I will because I've got other things to get as well. But if I do, I'd love to share my thoughts with you on that as well. And if not now, then definitely later. I will definitely make sure that happens at some point. I hope that this video was helpful for you. And as always, if it was, I do ask that you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.